talk about the IRA and the effect it's having, and basically, my problem, as you know, is that bill was designed to be energy secure. It's a balanced approach, and I think a lot of people have been misled because, and honestly, the administration has sold it as an environmental bill only, or they use that more to their base, and I've been very engaged with them trying to change and be accurate. But as you see that bill, basically for a 10-year period, the bill is designed to have the United States of America totally energy independent. That means we'll produce more fossil, but we do it cleaner than anywhere in the world. So as we replace to our friends around the world, they're getting the cleanest extraction of gas and oil and coal even than any place else. And that helps the climate tremendously from relying on the dirtier areas of the world that produce and not with the environmental oversight, such as methane capturing, carbon capture utilization, things of that sort. So if you can just speak briefly on that, and I'm having a problem with the permitting too. We are slow on permitting, you know that, and we've got to speed that up in order to do the job. I don't know if you all understand that basically all the people who want more renewables, we tie the two together. Remember, there's not going to be any big movement on more wind out on the Gulf unless we're extracting gas and oil from the Gulf. There's not going to be large projects as far as solar projects on BLM land unless we're extracting the critical minerals that we need and other resources that we have. I don't know if they're really realizing they're inextricably connected. Can't do one without the other. That gives us a balanced approach. So no matter, all of us have reasons to want to decarbonize and be environmentally friendly and understand our responsibility. On the other hand, the risk that we take and the dependency that we have and our allies have on what abundance that we have that we can produce for at least the next decade depends on us being accurate with that. So if you have any insight on that whatsoever, any comments. And then, Director, I'm going to go to you, Director Jørgensen, to see your European comments on the IRA, which I know, with all of your friends sitting behind you, is going to be quite lively.
Thanks very much, Senator Manchin, and for your leadership in creating this astounding revolution, frankly, in energy legislation, the likes of which I don't think we've seen in the world before. This is our all-of-the-above energy strategy. Right. It is the only way we're going to see a real transition to net zero emissions in the world, in the energy sector, which is going to actually provide security of supply and will not increase prices, which will not hurt consumers. We've got all across the board, all the chips are covered, from renewables to nuclear, advanced nuclear, to abated carbon energy.
I will say one thing, if I may interrupt you 1 second. The whole reason we call it the Inflation Reduction Act, if we put more product in the market, pure economics, so you put more product in the market, you have better pricing. So you're helping the consumer. That was the reason for what we have done. And
exactly right. And it also attends to those over-the-horizon technologies, clean hydrogen, everything else. I have to say, sir, that you have created, it's not only here in the United States where we have this vision and now the resources to do that and seriously move forward on it. Unstalling conversations about carbon capture and sequestration, making that a reality, finally, is that it's inspired the world. I was in Bangalore, India last week for the G20 negotiations. I got to tell you that India is ready to move forward on green hydrogen, on carbon capture and sequestration in a way that they can scale up in a way that's amazing. If you look at over 1 billion people then, you know, in a energy system that's using that, as well as now they want to talk with us about SMRs. So that is coming from the capacity that's been created by this legislation. If you can see the United States partnering with countries like that, countries in Europe, you know, other countries around the world, that is where we are seeing an investment in new energy technology as important as the investment in, frankly, in military technology that we had before, because it will really give these countries true independence and true security of supply.
I appreciate it. I know you're hearing a good bit as you go around too, and we've been hearing it, and now to hear from our dear friend, Ditte Jørgensen, on your perspective of this, and I've heard from your colleagues, and we hear you loud and clear. So tell me how it's working, or not working, or challenging.
Thank you very much, Senator, for that opportunity. So the Inflation Reduction Act, there are two perspectives that I would like to draw out. Now, the first one is that it is welcome that the United States is investing in green technologies and clean technologies, investing in climate change. That is good in terms of technological developments, innovation. It can help lower costs. So that is a welcome overall direction that is closely aligned with what we're doing in the European Union. We welcome that partnership and look forward to continuing that partnership. And our President, Ursula von der Leyen, has very clearly welcomed that direction of the Inflation Reduction Act. At the same time, we are deeply concerned with some of the elements of the Inflation Reduction Act that are clearly discriminatory. There are domestic content requirements. There are requirements that will make it more difficult for Europe to attract investments, more difficult for Europe to go through, more difficult for Europe to stay competitive. If I put that into the wider context of the global energy crisis we're in and the current geopolitics, we are each other's most important trading partners. We are each other's most important investment partners. So we have an interest in both of our markets continuing to develop, to remain competitive, because that can help innovation, that can help energy security, that can help create the technologies that are necessary for the future. So I think our take on that is we need to work together to solve those concerns, and we welcome the engagement we have seen from the US on this. We need to continue that work to find solutions to the outstanding concerns and to the discriminatory elements of the Inflation Reduction Act, so that Europe can also remain competitive and our partnership can remain a fair and open one.
Well, let me give you a little bit of insight how this all came about. It came about because we were not able to help our allies with the Ukraine war, what it created in EU, and that was the purpose of having energy security here. I couldn't get this administration to move in that direction because they were moving more towards just everything on the renewable end of it. Well, that's fine, and that's aspirational, but it's basically not reality. It's not what we needed. We needed hard fossil in order to replace, but we can do it cleaner and better. So we put more for carbon capture utilization. We went from $55 to $80. We went from $30 to $50 on utilization and sequestering. We went to 80. 50, was it 50 or 55? Huh? 60. We went to 60. Went to $60 on utilization. So we really upped the ante to find the new technologies that we can, and that was the whole thing. We're just trying to mature the industry and all these new technologies. The difference what we used, I'd always been criticized. I've had a lot of my colleagues on both sides now, especially on my side now, criticize me for not adapting to cap and trade or carbon pricing. And the reason I didn't do that, and the reason I thought it was wrong, because once that pricing gets absorbed into the market, there's no resources going to find the cure or find a new technology. So we incentivized it with the money we put towards this, that it'll mature it quicker, that we can share with you all and the rest of the world that wants to get less carbon, but be able to be realistic and meet the needs of your energy. We did that. The other thing is you all had a concern, and rightfully so, and I've heard you all loud and clear, concerning on basically when we said we're going to secure our critical minerals from North America or from free trading governments with countries with free trade agreements. We need to expand that to our NATO allies. We understand that. I'm trying to work through that. We're trying to get a score on that to find out what it does. So basically, so we have a reliable source, all of us do in the free world, have a reliable source of these critical minerals that can't be held captive, which we are right now by China mostly. But really Russia, China, whether it be Iran, whether it be North Korea, countries that have nothing in common with our way of life and our desire to govern us in democracy and freedom. So those are the things we're concerned about. We can work through that. I think what we're going to see is I think Europe is going to move more in a competitive mode as far as, competing, and that's what it's all about. That's what we've been so great at. All of us have been. And the things that we have done together, it's amazing since World War II. We can continue to go into the 21st century and on into the 22nd century if we do it together, and we understand that. The allies, the value of the free world is based on allies and relationships. It's not based on one superpower. We know we can't do it without you, and we know that. And we're going to have to make sure that we all go this together, if you will. So I would hope you'll look at what we have done, not in retrospect, is it harming, or was it intended to harm, especially our allies, our dearest allies. But it was basically to jumpstart the technology that's going to be needed to take us into the future. But you're still going to have, even the president said for 10 years, but I think longer than that, we're going to be depending on fossils. So can we extract and utilize natural gas and capture all of our methane so there's no vetting and no harm to the environment? Can we basically be able to develop hydrogen, which is the technology has been around forever, and now be able to do it and do it cleaner than even blue hydrogen? We got pink hydrogen, we got green hydrogen, we can do it all. And every part of the world can benefit from this technology. And then we have small modular reactors. with molten salt cooling, and basically you can take those up and down like a peaking plant. That's all coming on strong. We're going to with the amount of money, because if not, they've got a 10-year window. They've never had a 10-year window in any government from the standpoint of giving you 10 years of certainty that you have this pool of money to work out of, because it's always been a couple years and then another administration or another philosophical ideology comes into play with a new administration and things change. This one's locked in and funding secured from the 15% minimum tax that we have on our largest corporations. So we think it was a win-win, but we want to share that, truly. I don't want anyone to think. And when you see something that's being hindering or that you think it's been an obstacle, just let us know, because I think you brought to my attention. I appreciate very much. And we are working now. We've been working with the Secretary Janet Yellen and of Treasury to make sure that we're able to apply this properly. So hopefully you know that we value your friendship, your relationship, and most importantly, the allyship that we've had, that the free world has basically profited by what we've been able to do for the last 60, 70 years. We intend to do it for a lot longer. So I want to thank all of you for joining us. Dr. Mikulska, thank you for making an effort to be here. And Dr. Light, as always, we appreciate having you. And we're working with you on a piece of legislation that's going to give you the ability to do more of what you can do and what you need to do to help us be stronger with our allies and our friends around the world. And again, Director General Jørgensen, thank you so much for the effort that you made to be here and how much you've added to this hearing. I appreciate very much. Members will have until the close of business tomorrow to submit any additional questions for the record, and the committee stands adjourned.